Apparently the ocean, it's a pretty easy place to get lost.
Can you please keep it down over there? My head hurts.
Who's that?
That's my neighbor, Bailey. He was brought in with a head injury.
I know you're talking about me, Destiny.
He thinks he can't use his echolocation, but I've overheard the doctors talking.
I'm right here.
There's not a thing wrong
Hear
with it.
every word you're saying about me.
What's echolocation?
Well, Bailey's head is supposed to put out a call, and the echo helps him find objects far away. Oh, but apparently, he's still healing.
No, I know you're talking about me.
Finding Dory is the sequel to Finding Nemo. Takes place a year later, and this time we track Dory as she looks for her family and gets lost in doing so. Pixar waited 13 years to dip their toes back into this water. Was it worth the wait? Here's 5 things you might want to know about Finding Dory. It's time to pour out a little more Pixar love. Yeah, this one's really good. I love Finding Dory. Let's just start with the fact that it's really, really funny. I mean, this is a hilarious movie. Like, laugh out loud, often kind of funny. It's quick, it's witty, it's clever. Not only is it laugh out loud funny, not only do you get kind of the gut laughs at really funny things, you also get those little heartwarming smile type laughs that go along with it. And it's nice because it kind of mixes them up in a way where you're never too tired. So not only are you having a great time all the way through, but you always feel invested and you never feel exhausted. And that's a tough trick to pull off sometimes. The other thing that Pixar often gets right is the idea of crafting a great story. They're so good with thematics. And there's 2 main themes that run throughout this movie that I thought both worked really, really well. One is the idea of never giving up, of pursuing something at all costs, because it's important, in this case, family. Really appreciated that. And then, of course, there's the overarching theme. It's actually been in both movies about overcoming disability and about how our weaknesses don't have to define us. And in fact, in this one, it goes beyond and talks about how our weaknesses can actually strengthen us, how we can find the unique parts of what we seem to not do well and actually use those for good. I really appreciated those themes, and they're woven through really nicely here. You know what else Pixar gets right? And this is maybe one of the hardest things about doing sequels, especially to these kinds of movies, is how to balance character work. You've got the characters you know and love from the old movie, and then you've got new characters you want to introduce. And I thought these new characters were great, and they were wonderful, and you cared about them, but they didn't dominate the story. They didn't feel like they had to put them in the entire thing. Same goes for the old characters. There are a couple quick references to some of the characters we know and love from the first one, but they don't dominate this story. And there are plenty of characters from the first one that we don't ever see. So they avoid the Ice Age effect, as I call it, where every movie it piles on, half a dozen new characters. By the time you get to the 3rd or 4th movie, you've got a movie poster featuring about 50 furry animals that you're supposed to love and care for. It just doesn't work that way. They know that our central focus is Dory, Marlin, and Nemo. They get that, they deliver that, and I think the movie is stronger because of it. And of course, wouldn't be a Pixar movie if I didn't cry a little bit. There's actually only been one Pixar movie I haven't cried at. Seriously, honestly. That was Cars 2, by the way, in case you were wondering. And I cried at this one too. It's moving. They get emotion. They understand how to pull the audience through something. They do this little thing where you kind of see an emotional moment coming. They let it come to you in stages so you're ready for it. And the more you're ready for it, I think the more you feel it. They're just so good with an audience and bringing them along in those moments. And can I just say something about the fact of this emotion of this movie and the overcoming of the things that are here? They do it without adding a villain in this movie. That's hard to do. That's a high level of difficulty. There's no real, antagonist to play off of, and yet it's just as powerful and just as moving. I can see the look in your eye. You're wondering if I'm going to have something bad to say about this movie. I'll try to find something. The only thing I could think of, and this is really a minor thing, there are a few moments where the plot convenience is a little obvious, where a certain character happens to be in a certain place, and you're like, well, that's convenient, but it only happens a couple times, and honestly, this movie moves so quick and is on to the next fun thing so fast that it was quickly gone in my brain and really didn't impact it all that much. Overall, Finding Dory is another wonderful movie from Pixar. It's beautiful, gorgeously animated, and has all the pieces that make Pixar movies work. I give it a very solid A. Thanks for checking out this Your Movie Friend review. We'll get to the best ever challenge here in a bit. First, I want to let you know, if you want to know more about what goes on here, you can click the info button up here. There's links to other reviews, how to support the channel, how to go to the website, that kind of stuff. Search for me on social media. My name's Aaron Dicer, Aarondicer. Would love a follow on Periscope and Snapchat and Twitter and Facebook, wherever you want to find what goes on here. That's a great place I get to connect one-on-one and have more of these conversations. This is kind of a one-way conversation. I love two-way conversations. So find me there. Love to chat it up with you. Also, if you like podcasts, if you do the podcast thing, we have a great time. We talked Finding Dory on the podcast this weekend, as well as some other Pixar ranking things, favorite Pixar characters. One of my favorite questions we talked about was, what Pixar movie do you think would make the best TV show? So we do a lot of fun stuff like that on the podcast. It's called SiftPop, SiftPop. You can search for it wherever you do your podcast thing. We'd love to have you in on that every week. All right, on to the best ever challenge, where you name the best movie ever in a particular category. Also try to identify my choice. We're going with short films this week. What is the best Pixar short movie ever? I always have a short film before theirs. I put this in primarily so I could tell you Piper is amazing. The short film before this movie is so good in so many ways. We talk about it a little more in depth in the podcast, but may be my favorite, but it would have to outseat the one. So I'm saying best short film besides Piper, besides this one. Mine is the one I'm over the moon about. Is that a good enough clue? Take a guess at mine in the comments. Also leave your choice there as well. And as always, here's 5 extra seconds to hit the subscribe logo. It's right down in this corner. Just click it. You'll be updated whenever there's a new review or other type video, if I decide to do something other than a review.